Hey, okay, here I am. So we are talking about Carl Jung and his theory of personality and self and how he understood stress and tension. So the primary tension, internal tension caused by the unconscious trying to become conscious. So if we think about our entire life journey really being about individuation and gaining knowledge of the deeper self, through using these imageries and ideas and perceptions and archetypes from the collective unconscious, um, as well as the things we know personally, to do so to kind of widen our understanding of who we are, that there can be some tensions that take place, right? So the edge of the conscious mind, okay, so stay with me here. The edge of the conscious mind acts as a barrier censoring what information may come through from the unconscious. So if you think about the iceberg, you can just think about it like that. So the edge of the conscious mind might be the water level, and so the unconscious mind underneath it trying to come up. Um, but that edge, that water surface, the surface of the water is acting as a barrier to regulate, censor what's allowed to come through. Um, that which is considered threatening to the ego is rejected and not allowed through. So that can be a little like Freud stuff too, if we think about it. So the persona is the socialized mask, react, um, okay, I'm supposed to say created as gatekeeper, worn for public display. So it kind of lives there. The persona is that public image I said that we create, how we express ourselves in the world based on what we have learned is appropriate in the world, as well as what we know of ourselves. Um, and so you can think of it as the socialized mask that gets to decide what's acceptable to the ego, what's going to fit in with that persona, what's going to be okay to come forth. And the unconscious lives a deep well filled with information from the personal and the collective. Um, the shadow is okay. So the shadow is another kind of one, a little bit of an archetype, a little bit of an energetic symbol in a way that Jung believed lived within all of us, that we all have a shadow self, kind of why I chose this picture sort of idea. The shadow is part of the unconscious that holds all we have rejected and all we dislike about who we are, that which has been deemed not worthy of inclusion in the persona. So he did believe that we have this almost like a reservoir within us. I used to have it explained to me back in graduate school and so forth. It's almost like if you have a bag that you're dragging behind you, everything you don't want the world to see about your impulses, desires, maybe like Freud's id kind of, or anything that the world has told you is not okay, that you've come to not like about yourself, feelings you have, motivations that don't seem in alignment with who you want to be, then you'll stuff them into this bag, but you're always dragging it. And that keeps it pretty heavy, right? Like you're always dragging this bag of all this stuff that we don't want to accept and acknowledge about who we are. So that's kind of the shadow. Opposites of all sorts exist in the well of the unconscious, good and evil, feminine, masculine, um, all of these different tensions of opposites. Because if we share a collective unconscious, all of that exists in there. It's the whole story of humankind written into imagery and symbolism and available to us. And maybe Jung would even say that it's that collective unconscious um, reservoir that drives some of our darker, lighter impulses at times because we have access to it in places we don't know. So he did believe we all carry masculine and feminine, saw those not necessarily as male and female, but different energies that are kind of given to one or the other type of word. Again, you can't think of it as man and woman, but more like masculine energies are aggression and protection and those types of things, where feminine is like caretaking. And so men have feminine and masculine selves, women have feminine and masculine selves. Deep inside the unconscious is an imprint of the true self. that self that was there from the beginning. It's able to hold all the opposites and the dualities of life. Like it's whole and perfect and okay within all of it. It is the wise self. He would have called that kind of archetype, the wise self. And it is tapped into through individuation and integration of minds, wholeness realized. It's very spiritual in nature. So we're able, when we can touch upon it, even, which I'm not sure we ever get to it and become fully it, but we can touch upon it and tap into it, then it is that self that says, yes, there is the good and the bad. There is masculine and feminine. I hold all of these dualities within myself, and I can I can hold them, but I don't have to be dictated by anything certain. As parts of the unconscious attempt to become conscious, and the persona, conscious mind, and ego attempt to protect themselves from danger, stress and tension is created. So the ego, the conscious mind, the persona, all of that is that egg, remember, trying oh, well, that was that's Freud. Sorry, I'm getting myself confused. But anyway, it is. It's still trying to protect itself. It's all above the water. It's okay up there. Wants to keep everything down here, so the world doesn't see it. So we don't even have to see it and deal with it. But it's trying to come up, and so that is creating the tension. Pieces of the unconscious come through in dreams, impulses, and imageries, and can cause instability. And in ways we're not even aware of, we're just driven to things. It doesn't have to be what we had a dream. And so that's causing the instability. It can still just be kind of the energetic ripples of these things that are happening in our unconscious. So young in dreams, because I just know students love dreams. So I'll just share a little bit of this with you. And it's in the current text, at least. Fact, not fiction. He saw dreams as fact, not fiction, purposeful idea or theme. So he didn't necessarily see them like neurology today might talk about them in terms of the mind trying to coordinate and organize all the information from the day, but really as being that when we sleep, we're able to tap into that collective unconscious, and a lot of that imagery comes from there, and that the unconscious does not speak in our literal terms, but it speaks in symbolic terms. Reoccurring dreams might indicate past trauma, attempt at supplying compensation, signal of future, or attempt at supplying a compensation or signal a future event. So if we're having a recurring dream, it might indicate some of these things. We might be trying to compensate for something else that's going on in our life. And so we're having this reoccurring image or theme that keeps coming up to try to show us and tell us what's going on. It's specific to each of us, though. So Jung would say, not, we can look at, so what does, and there's a lot of dream books out there, what does a bird in a dream mean? Or what does flying in a dream mean? But Jung would probably ask you the question, what does it mean to you? Because if it means something different to me, that the imagery is going to speak to you in a way you are going to understand it in at least if you were to look at it. So it's going to be more specific. So you got to always ask the question. There's always the idea too that I think comes from Jung quite a bit of everything in a dream, every person, everything in a dream is some aspect of you. That it's really not another person, but what does that person represent that lives within you? So it's really all about what parts of you are you seeing and are trying to speak to you, and what does it mean to you? For the sake of mental stability and physiological health, the unconscious and the conscious minds must be internally connected and thus move in parallel lines. So we're seeking integration of the unconscious and the conscious by allowing the unconscious, listening, acknowledging those images and symbols, letting the information come up and through and help serve and grow what is on the outside. The in and the out must become parallel. More Jung. Sorry. He's just not known, a lot of us don't know a lot about him. Psychic equilibrium. This is what we're searching for, finding unity in mind between conscious and unconscious. That's what leads to inner peace. Active imagination is one way of working with this. Now, I am not telling you all to go off and do this because I think anything is always helpful when it can be processed with someone else. But here's some ideas of how Jung would work with the unconscious a little bit. The purpose of it is it's called active imagination. To use your imagination to connect with the subconscious, because in the subconscious being what lives right beneath the water that can become conscious and then can lead into even deeper unconscious. Um, we have to kind of allow access to it and listen to it in order to have that integration, according to Jung. So allow the mind to relax and images to come forth to be interpreted and used for insight and understanding. So often when we're like relaxed, things kind of come up in the mind. We might tend to push them away or explain them or censor them. It's really about letting what come, not trying not to be afraid of it, but trying to be curious and lean in with curiosity about it. Because the unconscious speaks in imagery and symbols, this method seeks to let its language appear in the mind's eye to be used to integrate conscious awareness and unconscious understanding. Example, if consciously angry or sad, but we don't know why, the method is meant to get you in touch with deeper feelings that can unite the two levels together. What's beneath that? What are some of the images that might come up? Jung said it must be done carefully, though. Like, the mind is trying to integrate. So a Jungian therapist would be kind of a person to help with dream therapy and things like that, um, rather than trying to just do it alone. It's much like dream analysis. But it also can be like asking a question as you're in the twilight, because I think using dreams for information, like as you're falling asleep, asking a question, what what do I need to understand? What do I need to know? How can I what's blocking me, and seeing if then the dream, writing the dream down afterwards, seeing what the images are, never seeing them necessarily as something um, meant to be dangerous, but as information to help the mind integrate. All right. So that's the end of Jung. It's a lot, I know, and he's kind of very deep. I love him, but yeah, it's a lot of stuff. There's so much more. If you get into archetypes, and, whew, it's gets big. I think I have some more information on him. So Viktor Frankl. So we talked about Frankl. You know what? It's only been 12 minutes. I'm actually going to stop and I'll just start another one and probably maybe get through the last two, but I might have to do one for each. All right. Bye.